Dear organizer, dear professors, dear audience, allow me to share a truth not closely related to the topic of this presentation. First of all, I ask you for your understanding because of my English accent. In most cases, I use French language. You may have some surprise because of the title of this presentation, as demographic issues are usually considered to fall under the competence of the member states, or perhaps are associated with the practice of the European Court of Human Rights. In addition, I also owe your regarding my research area, since you most likely have a much broader knowledge that I do on my topic of this conference, as my research has only been partially covered by these issues. The question arises, how can I justify making a presentation or requesting your kind attention? Professor János Edeszilágyi and Professor Timea Barzo asked me to carry out the research on which the presentation is based, suspecting that the law of the European Union could have a major impact in this area. Furthermore, they believe that also I was not an expert of this area, but I would do my best to provide useful information by mapping the legal practice. I hope that I have not disappointed them. In the end, I see that EU law as having a very strong impact on this area, with a very expensive interpretation of the European Court of Justice. And the way that common sense basically, I will touch upon three terms in my presentation. The practice of the Court of Justice of the European Union is disregarded, and the answers given by the European Commission to written questions. Firstly, I will examine the decisions of the Court of Justice of the European Union on the implementation of demographic objectives in the pension systems, and then I will turn to the issues of the family-related support in the practice of the Court of Justice, which can be called a shift towards a progressive family model. For a reason of time, I will present the judgments briefly. Demographic measures in the pension system. Firstly, I will present the judgment in case Gáspár. The judgment resulting from the preliminary ruling. The person concerned in the main proceedings is a civil servant, a father of 3 children, who did not benefit at the time of his retirement from the pension allowance for children, which the relevant French legislation allowed only for women. However, the court acknowledged that they may suffer disadvantage in their careers because of their family responsibilities, in particular because of parenting. The court held that the national measures in question, namely the support provided by the pension system to women with children, was not suitable to compensate for these advantages they may face in their careers. And the national legislation in question, therefore, was against the principle of the equal treatment for men and women. The judgment in case Leone is also interesting. National legislation on benefits related to pensions since the concerned person did not interrupt his career in accordance with the relevant rules for purpose of raising children. According to the concerned person, the rule seemed to be neutral, but are more favorable for women and indirectly discriminates men. According to the interpretation of the court, women had much more benefit from the rule in question than men. The Court of Justice of the European Union does not accept demographic objectives for any derogation. It used rather strict criteria. The following decisions examined in the judgment in case Instituto Nacional de la Seguridad Social. In this decision, the Spanish legal provision ensure a pension supplement for women who have had children of their own or adopted children in view of their demographic contribution to social security, but does not provide this option for men. By applying its special criteria, the court examined this differentiation and did not accept that women who have more children pay less contribution because they are busy bringing up children and therefore suffer a disadvantage that could be legitimate reason for derogating from the principle of equal treatments. Progressive family model and family in the practice of the Court of Justice. By way of introduction, it is worth mentioning a written question addressed to the European Commission on policy to support families. The question asked whether the Commission had taken into account the fact that helping Europeans to have more children would also help to solve labor problems. In its reply, the Commission referred to the cause of labor shortage, which it considers to be cyclical and structural factors, including the reduction caused by the demographic factors. The Commission stressed that having children is an individual choice. The European Commission supports member states in creating the right condition for EU citizens to plan their family life. As regards the practice of the Court of Justice on the family, the first look at the decisions in case Tadao Makuro, the person concerned that had a partnership with a person of the same sex who died in 2005. In the same year, the person concerned in the main case claimed widow's pension, which was rejected on the grounds that under the relevant legislation, surviving partners are not entitled to benefit to which the surviving relatives are. The question is also interpreted by the Court of Justice as one falling with the scope of the European law, and this discrimination must be examined by the proceedings national court. In the practice of the Court of Justice, the definition of marital status and the determination related allowance is a matter for the member states, but the member states must nevertheless take into account the rule of the EU law. I will leave out the third part because of respect of time. Closing remarks. We can see that the legal practice established by the Court of Justice in this area is out of politics or internal law. It is also clear that the practice described above has not been pointed out by the European Commission in its written replies when asked about support for families. I find it quite difficult to say how an area requiring long-term actions can be successful if important elements thereof conflict with EU law. It's important to emphasize that if the examined practice of the Court of Justice is not limited to the areas under review, but such interpretation of the principles developed by the court in this area and of ratio decidendi on which these decisions are based continues, then we can get to the similar result in case of any aid action by member states. Where the demographic objective is pushed into background of the broader context of rights that are guaranteed by the EU law in broader or narrower way. The continuous, sometimes unaccepted extensions of the progressive family model does not make the legislature jobs easier. At the same time, I do not see it as hopeless to find a solution. By solving the problem, I mean, first of all, examining the possibility of how demographic objectives can be compatible with EU law objectives of age discrimination and gender discrimination, and which the provisions ensuring this objective is. There should be a very precise mapping of the EU practice in this area, so that at least to have the relevant knowledge. It should be mentioned that if a public health crisis were to arise in a Central European member state due to the immigration of health personnel, we would know that the room for maneuver in the member states is. In addition, there should be publications on this subject and show that demographic issues are particularly important for the Central European countries. If it is concluded that demographic objectives cannot be achieved on the basis of the current legislative environment or the practice of the Court of Justice of the European Union, I do not necessarily see that need to amend the relevant secondary EU legislation as impossible. Thank you for your kind attention.